Hi, everyone. Welcome to the My name is Chad Smeltzer. I am your host. Today's guest is Bratton Riley. Did I get it right?
You
I
did
did
it,
not.
man.
I did it? Okay, good. I appreciate you joining me on the guest, man. I've been looking through your bio. You've had a lot of experience, it looks like, in government, and you created a solution to improve government. Where's the history there? Where did you get into government?
Yeah, man. I live here in Charleston, South Carolina, and for 40 years, my dad, whose name is Joe Riley, was mayor of Charleston. And so I grew up in City Hall. And as I grew up, uh, I learned a lot, as much as you can, about local government from someone that didn't actually work there. And I love local government so much because it's so close, so proximate to the people, and people can reach out and touch their local government representatives and governments. When you think of customer service, you don't think about governments being at the top of the list of being quality customer service providers. And
Right.
at the same time, you know not every resident feels like government cares about them, whether
Right.
they're lower income or maybe don't speak English well, or had bad experiences, historical bad experiences with people representing local government. And so we're trying to help build trust. So my old man, Joe Riley, he built trust as mayor with the residents of the city of Charleston. And he built
Hmm.
an inclusive government, an equitable government, and built trust with the people. And with that trust, he and his team were able to get many things done over his career as mayor. And so it's with that kind of passion that I have, plus the learnings over the years of how good government works.
Yeah.
We built CityBot as a multi-channel. Some people call them omni-channel, but then you got to define what omni-channel means. A multi-channeled chatbot platform that's specifically built for government customer service. So multi-channel means it's available via text message. It's available through chat on the government website.
Yeah.
And this year we're launching Facebook, Twitter, and WhatsApp chat too. And our goal is we want to make these channels available so that residents can choose the channel that they're most comfortable using to lower the barriers of entry, lower the barriers of engagement, so that more people feel that government is approachable and that they have positive experiences when they engage with government. So that's what we get
Nice.
to work on every day.
Well, that's look, you're passionate about it, obviously, and you're making a difference in bringing technology to government. And that's where I want to talk about. How did you become a tech person? Like, how did you go to school for that? Like, how did you come up with building this software technology?
Yeah, I mean, I think the we could have a good debate as to whether or not I'm a tech person. uh,
All you got to be is a visionary.
yeah,
So I get
that's
it. I just
right.
want to learn more
I
about like
know
how you.
people who
I can
are
see
good.
where you're going with this. So this is good.
No, I mean, I came up with the vision of the product with two of my co-founders, and
Okay.
Tom Wilson and Lee Days. And fortunately, Tom Wilson is who's our chief technological officer, is very well versed in technology, and so it was really connecting the chatbot technology to the local government context through these channels, and then trying to emulate the type of customer service experience, the non-emergency type of communication that comes in from a resident to their government, and build that in these AI models that are
Yeah.
ever evolving currently.
Quickly.
Now it's now more than ever,
Oh
and
yeah.
building a forward postured AI engine that can not only provide a quality experience, but also
Mhm.
be um, nimble enough, Chad, so that we're not um, we're not handcuffed by technologies that aren't evolving
Right.
fast enough. And that's a big, big thing to try to avoid in the tech business. But no, my background is not in tech. I went to law school and business school and worked in the maritime industry for 13 years. It was a very entrepreneurial world because it was a real niche kind of shipping company goods that we took around the world, and then
Yeah.
we built a bunch of port terminals, and I got to help with a lot
That's
of
pretty
interesting
cool.
things. It was very entrepreneurial, which you don't necessarily think of when you say maritime industry, but it really was.
Right. Right.
But and then Tom Wilson, my now CTO, he recruited me into the tech space, and then we kind of
Okay.
put together this product idea, and I pitched
Love
it
it.
in the summer of 2016 to the U.S. Conference of Mayors. They had a little civic tech pitch contest, and I showed up with a PowerPoint presentation. We hadn't put any bits of code together, and got some good feedback from there. And then soon after that, we started the
That
company.
was it.
Yes,
Yeah. So you were able to take, I mean, 2016 is before COVID. So we weren't in this revolution of like remote meetings like you and I are having and these conversations. Was that a pivotal moment maybe for your business to transform government? Because I would imagine they're going to need these services
it,
right
it
when COVID hit.
was. It was for us. I think we had 12 customers before COVID,
Okay.
and it's hard, in the government space. Something that will not surprise you is that they're not early adopters of new AI technology. Um,
Not- no.
and it's not like I didn't know that getting into this, but getting those first customers is very hard, and I was, you know, didn't necessarily know what the heck I was doing either. So that kind of slowed that process down as well. But
Oh yeah.
COVID did, especially with the governments that were oriented towards like, okay, this was a moment, we got caught in a moment and we weren't ready for the moment and we got to do something about it.
Yeah.
Not every government reacted that way, but
Right.
the ones that did, you know, would be more willing to meet with us.
Yeah.
And then I think the other thing that's really been pivotal for us is, in the GovTech space, I've had the great fortune of having a lot of people mentor me that are in the GovTech space. And, almost everyone said, get to your first 50 customers. And if they're happy, then you can go to your next 200 customers. And so we're
Mm.
just kind of crossing that 50 customer threshold now. And our customers
Yeah.
are very happy. We do take good care of them. And that's not you know, there's no confusion about that with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in this world, we deal with a lot of software companies too, and customer service is becoming commoditized and not personal,
Oh, there
and
you go.
it's not awesome.
Yeah.
And that's not what we're doing,
Yeah.
because we get to work with public servants who work in government who are generally oriented towards caring about people and want to serve them. We
Yeah.
get to work with those people. That is truly an honor and a privilege to do that. And those amazing people deserve the respect and love and care that they should have. And
Yeah.
anyways, I know that kind of sounds cliche, but it really is an important part of the work that we do.
It is. You're in a interesting place because I look at it as government agencies have failed at bringing that customer service experience like you're talking about to the table, where we call in and we have a complaint, right, or we have a issue. Maybe it's branches out front of our yard or sitting there too long. These little things that happen. Our concrete out front is cracked.
Sure.
These complaints. Those things should be handled the same way a private sector company would do it. It's like, okay, put them through the okay, we acknowledged it, we help, we
Yeah.
empathize, we get it, we're going to get people out there, we're going to be transparent through the whole process and get you someone to fix that problem, right? We failed. I mean, we've been failing at that for a long time, and I think that's where I think cities, as they bring your kind of concept to their service world will really improve the way they help, and that'll make the constituents within those cities and communities feel so much better about being heard and seen. And that's the
Yeah.
kind of stuff that you're doing, it sounds like, which is awesome. And I've seen it firsthand. That's why I'm like
Yeah.
passionate about it too. I'm vibing with you
Yeah.
on that
No,
one.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that. Yeah, it's kind of like the evolution of government sort of as a monopolist, so to speak.
yeah,
It's like, if you're a monopolist, you can treat your customers like crap if you want to, and they won't go anywhere, right? And that's, utilities, some of these entities that are monopolist of sorts.
yeah,
They happen to be on the lower rungs of the ladder of quality customer service, and the data proves that out.
yeah,
And then, some of these local governments are realizing that we are competing for property tax dollars, and that if
good
we
point.
provide better customer service experiences, we treat our constituents, our residents better, that is a competitive advantage for us, as the mobility of the world has very much changed over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, some local governments, not many, but some of them, really intentionally think about that.
Yeah. There's got to be a change, the way we do that. You just point on, if you want to attract property taxes revenue for your community, you have to treat it like an organization, like a business. I
Yeah,
mean, provide that customer service, get people to want to live in that community, provide sustainable infrastructure, economic infrastructure, a sustainability too. Like all that has to play together when, and if you don't introduce technology like something like yours, what do you have? You're just going to continue with like a paper-based process of handling these, work orders and things that come in of complaints and stuff. It's just not going to be sustainable. Now, you mentioned something about your dad being, mayor for, what was it, 40 some years, I think.
40 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So what did you learn from him that I guess you've just carried on with you through this whole process of being an entrepreneur and running a business?
Well, the first and foremost thing I learned about him was how courageous he was as a white Irish descendant at a young age to become a civil rights leader.
Yeah.
And so that happened in the mid to late 60s with him. And so he served in the South Carolina legislature as the South was, thank the good Lord, dealing with the consequences of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And meaning in the Deep South, that was then the first time that African Americans started to get elected again into the state legislatures after, white society had stripped them of that ability since Reconstruction happened. And
Right.
so that was a major, you know, part of our history here in the Deep South. And so when these African Americans were getting elected into the legislature, my father would have them be his desk mates in the legislature. And as some folks in the legislature who had not nice things to say about these people, my dad
Right.
was always sticking up for them, and they called him Little Black Joe in the legislature. And then Charleston, what happened in Charleston when he ran in 75, Charleston went from at-large elected city council, like you vote for a slate, to single-member districts,
Okay.
meaning, one representative for each geographical district, of course. And
Yeah.
what that basically meant was city council went from pretty much all white to half black and half white. And so both the black and
Love
white
it.
communities at that time were very concerned about that. And so both black and white communities encouraged my dad to run based on his resume of race relations support and civil rights. So he barely won. He barely won.
Mm.
And then so overnight the color complexion of city council changed in such a beautiful way. And then he started promoting people of color to leadership positions in
Mhm.
government itself. So And that just kind of set the stage. It wasn't like this, I don't want to sugarcoat stuff. I mean, but it set the stage for building the trust to enable them to do quality work. And so I learned, the thing I'm most proud of him is just his courage in a time where it was wildly unpopular,
Mm,
Deep South, to stick up for our friends of color.
right.
That never held him back. And then, I've learned so much else from him along the way we can talk about, but
Yeah.
the great leaders become experts in things that they were not previously experts in.
There you go.
For
Yeah.
example, in his case, high quality urban design and the details associated with that, and the 50 to 100-year test when you're talking about building new buildings and
Mm,
construction materials, and how does it fit into the urban design aesthetic of a place. All that stuff he became an expert in. And
yeah.
so I love to nerd out with him on like mortar colors and, windows and retail locations at the bottom of buildings. And, they say every 22 steps, if you're walking down a main street, you want to be able to look at a different space in
Yeah.
off the sidewalk, just things like that is just very fascinating. Um, but there's a
Yeah.
lot. I mean, people ask me, I'll stop after this, but one of the things that he was so good at was always being 5 steps ahead of the vocal minority in the community. And the vocal minority are the louder people that make it seem like everyone believes what they think, when in fact they're very much represent the minority of what people think. And he was always 5 steps ahead of them with his team and beat them at the punches when they tried to keep progress from happening. Um,
Yeah.
and he won every time. And not that it's like a win or loss thing, but it's like it's not that he won; it was we won. We won
Right.
because we didn't get, um, you know, crippled by the minority view of things, which was generally towards not doing anything.
Right.
And so he was very effective at that.
Yeah. Hey, Charleston's a beautiful city. I've been there many times,
Yeah,
and I've always wondered the history. So this is a great
yeah. It's
conversation.
no accident. It's no
Yeah, the
accident.
buildings are amazing. You walk down the streets, and it's just beautiful. The trees are massive, willow tree. It's just beautiful. It's a great place to visit. So you've learned a lot about politics, I assume. As your dad's putting all the stuff together and bring Charleston to where it is today. And has as a entrepreneur like yourself, where did you see yourself as far as maritime, and then you got into CityBot and stuff like that? Now, where do you see yourself in the future of building out this CityBot system, and what that's going to look like in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're just getting started. So, it's we got customers all over the country, large and small cities. Um, we're about to push out Oakland and Stockton in California, and we have a bunch of customers in Texas and Florida, a bunch of other states. We're about to kick out Colorado Springs and
Hmm.
Colorado and some really great places. So I'm, in terms of what I want to do in life, I'm in a good spot where we get to help local governments present a more equitable and approachable front door to the
Okay.
community. So, I get asked all the time, are you going to run? When are you run for office? And it's, I mean, you have to, I mean, a lot of people do that with care, and some people just ask it because I have the same last name as a very unicorn figure
Yeah.
in the community.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm scratching that itch because I
Yeah.
get to help all these cities and counties across the country.
Right.
Like that's, and it's, I get to do that in my day job.
Yeah.
And then just with the evolution of where, AI and machine learning technology is going, and what will that enable us to do as we continue to build out our products, we don't even know. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't profess to know, but I do. I'm so excited about, some of the things we're adding. Our multi-language capability next month. That'll be in May 23,
Nice.
and it's for Stockton because in Stockton, of course, you would imagine there's a large Latino population there, but there's also a very large Filipino population there,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah.
so residents will be able to communicate in Tagalog directly to their city, which is pretty awesome,
That's
and so it's stuff like that that you know, really excites us a lot, and we're bringing on WhatsApp as a communication channel
yeah.
because 52% of our Latino population in our country regularly uses it. Is there any city asking me about WhatsApp? No.
No, not
Uh,
many people use it in the United States, I don't think.
well, there's a bunch of people that use it. It's just not, I mean, I lived in Latin America for 3 years. That's how I keep tabs
Yeah.
on all my people down
Yeah.
there. But normally companies will build a product when the market demand dictates it. That's kind of like smart business. Um,
Yeah.
we're not smart business, I guess, because we're building the WhatsApp channel and basically going to go to these local governments and say, hey, if you want to walk the walk around equitable engagement, you need
Mhm.
you need to start talking about WhatsApp.
Yeah.
You need to start.
Okay.
You really want to walk the walk.
Makes
This
sense.
needs to be a
Yeah.
part of what you are thinking about. And right now, this whole concept of digital equity has gotten suffocated by the movement to place broadband cable across the country, which is a wonderful movement, but it's not digital equity. It's like, okay, we're going to lay broadband cable around the country, but then people still have to pay for it. And people are
Right.
still saying,
It's
hey, if
it's
I have a choice between Wi-Fi in my home and I don't make much money or this, guess what I'm going to pick?
right.
This.
Yeah.
So, um, we like to talk about it in terms of equitable engagement with the institutions that have been created to serve the people.
Yeah.
That's how we call it digital equity. And so that's where we're focused on. And hopefully we're not on our little island with our sword and the other people have modern
I
warfare
I think
technology, but it's a right we do it because it's the right thing to do, and hopefully we'll bring people along with us.
yeah,
We started with text messaging first because 97% of adults in the U.S. text.
yeah. I mean, that's
So um,
everybody does that now.
now, but
Yes.
it was a hard sell to local government for the first 3 years because they had no idea what I was talking about,
Wow.
which is not a good. Which also means I wasn't doing a good job of communicating it too.
Well,
Uh,
that's what I was going to ask you. Like, if you could say what CityBot does, obviously I know with chat and it
sure,
notifies and it connects people right within these local governments to their constituents. But can you give like an overview of like what it does and
sure,
how? Because
yeah.
it's kind of it's
So we model it after the reasons why residents reach out to their government that are not reasons that they should be calling 911. And
okay,
so we put it into three categories. The first major category is the information seeking communications. That's a large majority. People have questions, and like anyone, they want to get quick answers.
yeah,
And the nature of local government is that local government is merely a collage of agencies that do different things to serve people.
yeah,
Whether it's booking your kiddo into the summer camp that's sponsored by your local Aurora Parks and Rec department, or fixing your streets or getting a business license or paying a parking ticket, or adopting an animal. Like none of
right,
those things have anything to do with one another. But these are all core functions of local government, and they're amazing services. Picking up your trash.
yeah,
We take some of the stuff for granted, but it's, you know, they're incredible services that local government provides. And so it's a vast array of reasons why residents reach out to a local government, but most of them are information seeking. So we want to help answer the questions that residents have through chat so that they do not need to send an email or leave a voicemail and wait to hear back. And
Got it.
then the next category are the service requests, the potholes, missed trash pickup, lost dogs, graffiti, traffic lights not working, some of that. My neighbor's dog is barking too loud and it's 11 o'clock at night. Um,
Yeah.
the number one service request in Arlington, Texas is tall grass. Neighbors complaining about their neighbor's tall grass.
Wow.
We do have some snitching going
Interesting
on.
analytics then.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. But so we build conversations in AI so that we can ask the questions to the resident when they want to report the service request.
Okay.
And then we're an enterprise software platform. And what I mean by that is we directly integrate into the local government tech ecosystem.
Okay.
So we're not like a standalone chat that's cute and doesn't connect into the inner workings of local government. No, we don't. We understand local government. These people have selected other technologies to use. And it's important that we show the respect to them, that we respect that, and we will integrate directly into your system. That's how we can generate the efficiencies to help these governments optimize their own internal efficiencies,
Yeah.
and save them time. At the end of the day,
Nice.
that's what we're doing. We're saving them time and serving more residents. And
Right.
so, and then our last feature, like what gives chatbots a bad name, of course, is when they don't work. Right? If you've ever
No,
had
that
a
was
chat experience and it's like, well, this thing isn't helping me, and I've just spent 4 minutes doing it, and I want my 4 minutes back. And now I got to find my customer service provider through some other channel. And by the time I'm going to connect with them, I'm going to be a little bit more perturbed
right.
now that I just had a cruddy chat experience than if I just called them to begin with.
Yeah.
And we don't want any resident to have that experience. So we have in our platform, and it's the nature of local government. Like sometimes people do need to talk to somebody,
They do.
because they've
Yep.
got a nuanced communication and it might be personalized. And, we had one the other day come into Mont Bellevue, Texas, and it was a resident wondering if they need to get an electrical permit for a Tesla wall charger connector that a Tesla certified engineer was going to install on the exterior wall of the home.
Huh.
Now, is that interesting to 99.9% of the people? No.
Definitely not.
But what the beautiful thing is, the resident can communicate that directly in as a message. We call it a message. You just send in what you need. It'll get routed internally to the electrical permit expert,
Yeah.
and the electrical permit expert will reach back out to the resident and say, as a matter of fact, you do need a permit for that. And
Interesting.
then what local government will say, our sophisticated local government folks will say is, you know what? That is a random question. But guess what? Electric vehicles are growing in popularity big time. So I bet this question's going to get asked again.
It's gonna. Yeah.
So let's
That's
add
great.
that to our knowledge base so that the next time something like that comes in, and it's a revenue source for the city. Let's make it easier for a resident to figure out they need to get a permit to pay the city the money. So it's just, so
Yeah.
we want to make sure the resident can communicate that in, and when they do, when they communicate their nuanced communication, they get an immediate response back that says, thank you so much for your message, someone's going to get back in touch with you. And that's
That.
what we all
Yeah.
want, Chad. We all want instant gratification. We want instant gratification that our
Hundred
customer
percent.
service provider cares about us, and we're
Yep.
not necessarily expecting government to do that.
That is great analytics to have, like you just said about the whole Tesla example, because you can create legislation, you can create different things that you got to get the council involved in, because it is going to become more of EV solutions, right? That was a great example, because you're going to have to plan ahead for this stuff, and you just mentioned it's a revenue stream potentially for these cities to have that data, and I think that's where as government agencies start to learn that switching to a digital first organization will really help them make smarter decisions. And you're on the cutting edge of that right now. And I think you're in a good spot. And man, I can only imagine what the future is going to be like for CityBot down the road. And we're already out of time. So I want to just give you a
Yeah.
time to just put your information out there. How can people get a hold of CityBot, you, and then talk more about it?
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. We're our website, citybot.io. Um, my email is Bratton, Bratton, at citybot.io. And we,
Awesome.
if you're a resident of your community or if you work in local government and you want to optimize customer service and do it in an equitable way, and we're very affordable
Yeah.
system. And I hope my investors don't hear that I just said that, but it's true. And we really want to help build trust. That's
Yeah.
what we want to do. And so we got a lot of work to do. It's up to us to execute, on our part. And but it really is an honor to be in this space and serve these amazing people that we get to work with. It really is.
That's great. Yeah, you're doing great things, Bratton. And thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to talking to you in the future, man.
Thanks, brother. I
Have a
appreciate
great
your
day.
time, man, and hope you have a great weekend.
Yeah, have a great Easter. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, brother.
Bye bye.
Bye.